We're gonna build a house for two families. Wait, what? Where's the money for that? Huh? Obviously, it's gonna come from your savings. I was taken aback when my husband suddenly informed me that we'd be living with his parents. Now I understood why he'd been so dismissive. Trying to hide my shock, he continued. If you really hate the idea, we can just get divorced. Fine. I'll divorce you. I couldn't stand him having his way any longer. Besides, there's no way I'd divorce him for free. He's gonna pay for this. And just as he wanted, we're gonna get divorced. What the heck did you do? Who knows? Maybe it's just your past catching up to you. My husband would soon regret his actions, crying over them. And he'd end up losing everything. My name's Catherine, and I'm currently a homemaker. I met my husband, Bob, through my previous job. More accurately, he was introduced to me by my boss at the time. This boss happened to be a college senior of mine, and we've been close since our university days. Got some time today? Yes, I do, but what? Actually, I've got someone I want to introduce you to. Someone you want to introduce? Even if he was my boss, I found it a bit bothersome. I wanted to go home early and watch a recorded show. But I couldn't simply turn down an invitation from my boss. Well, he's a good guy, don't worry. Just for a bit, okay? Though my first impression of Bob wasn't the best, as we talked, we found we had similar interests. Plus, it was nice not having to be on guard around him. Things progressed quite quickly after that. Will you marry me? You're proposing already? Huh? Sorry. I was just taken aback. So, what's your answer? Bob proposed to me only 3 months into our relationship. Though I was so surprised I made a snarky comment, of course, my answer was a yes. But once we're married, I'd like you to be a homemaker, okay? Sure. That sounds good. I accepted Bob's proposal. I always had the idea of being a homemaker, and I wanted to fulfill Bob's wishes as much as I could. Being a homemaker turned out to be quite a challenge for me every day. You seem tired. Being a homemaker turned out to be quite a challenge for me every day. What do you mean? I thought I'd have more free time. Bob just laughed. You'll get used to it eventually. I'll help out till then. Thank you. That really helps. Honestly, I was grateful for his suggestion. Cleaning, laundry, and other chores weren't my forte, so it always took me a while. Bob never complained about my lack of skill. There were moments when I felt truly grateful to have married him. But it wasn't always smooth sailing. It didn't work out again. You tried so hard, too. But there'll be a next time. Suddenly, Bob's face changed and he raised his voice. What do you know, Catherine? I thought he brought it up, but I held my tongue. Bob works in sales, but apparently, he hasn't been doing well. At that time, I never imagined things would turn out this way. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it that way. My bad. I shouldn't have reacted like that. Even though he apologized, I could see the frustration on his face. In situations like this, I try to think of the right words to say, but I just can't find them. I worried that if I said something else now, it might further upset my husband. Then one day. How was work? Well, I wasn't feeling well, so I took the day off. Oh, okay. Although he said he was feeling sick, he didn't seem to be. He ate his breakfast as usual, and even had seconds when it came to the bread. I had my doubts but didn't think much of it at the time. From that day on, whenever I said something to Bob, he took it as a complaint and got upset. How are you feeling now? Yeah. I'm feeling better. I'm gonna take a short walk. Huh? You haven't rested yet. It's okay. I won't go far. But. Bob's expression changed. I sensed trouble, but it was too late. What now? Got something else to complain about? It's not like that. Then just leave it, okay? Instead of fussing over me, focus on the house. Okay. I felt even more deflated. People say marriage can change a person, but with Bob, it was like he became someone else entirely. Life went on like this, and years passed. Lately, all I thought about was how not to upset Bob. I'll be home late tonight. Got it. What about dinner? I plan on eating when I get home. That day, I waited and waited for my husband to come home. The clock struck 11 p.m., and he was still not back. I'm home. It was just about to turn midnight. Relieved he was finally back, I greeted him with a smile. Welcome back. There's dinner if you want. Nah, I already ate out. Huh? What? Well, you said you'd eat at home today. Oh, did I? Must have slipped my mind. I stood frozen at the entrance. I had prepared dinner and waited without eating, just for him. Without a single apology from Bob, my distrust grew. Am I really loved? Then, one day after such days passed. Here you go. Bob came home holding a bouquet of flowers. They were red roses, my favorite. What's the occasion? What are you talking about? It's Catherine's birthday, isn't it? Oh. With everything going on lately, I had completely forgotten about my own birthday. I got wine and cake too. Let's celebrate. Yes. I didn't expect a surprise, but I was genuinely delighted. That's when I truly felt loved by Bob. We enjoyed a peaceful atmosphere that day, something we hadn't felt in a long time. I wished those moments would last forever, but they didn't. About next month's payments. Huh? Next month? Our happy times ended abruptly. I received money for monthly expenses, but it had noticeably decreased from the beginning. Until now, I had managed by cutting corners, but this time was different. I had my own savings, but I wanted to keep them for retirement. The money you've been giving me isn't enough. What? It should be more than sufficient. Have you been wasting it on something, Catherine? I haven't. I've been saving where I can. You sure you're not just buying things you want? Normally, I might have backed down at this point, but not this time. I wanted children, and considering our future, I believed we needed a serious discussion. I haven't been spending recklessly. It's been tough for months, especially since the amount you give has decreased. You're blaming me? Then where's the rest of the money going? Determined to stand my ground, I said my piece. But Bob, perhaps annoyed by my words, threw his smartphone at me. I instinctively shielded my face. It didn't hit me, but the phone's screen shattered. If you're gonna complain so much, why don't you figure it out? That's why I'm talking to you about it. Another factor exacerbating the issue was Bob's low salary. In his sales job at the company, a significant portion of his pay was incentive-based. The more contracts he secured, the more he earned. But if he couldn't secure contracts, his salary wouldn't increase. Given what he said, I decided to make a suggestion. Fine. I'll get a part-time job and bring in some money. That should solve it, right? But Bob didn't approve. What are you talking about? Didn't you promise to be a homemaker when we got married? But it's getting tough to get by, you know? Even so, it's not okay. You're just gonna neglect household chores, right? I'm not talking about working full-time, though. Feeling that if we didn't resolve this now, it would continue forever, I pressed on. I believed our discussion would ultimately benefit both of us. However, what Bob said next was beyond belief. You wanting to work so much is suspicious. What? How do you figure that? I'm just thinking about our finances. Seeing the conversation take a strange turn, I tried to steer it back, but Bob wasn't listening. Catherine, do you have another man or something? I felt like the trust we'd built over the years was crumbling. After always trying to keep the peace and accommodate Bob's moods, this was the last straw. Fine. I won't work. You're happy now, right? You should have said so sooner. By this time, my love for Bob had almost faded. He'd throw tantrums when things didn't go his way. Such a dominant attitude was too much. And then, after a certain incident, I decided to seek revenge. Just make sure to handle the payments somehow. I can't do much if I'm not working. I get it. But Catherine, you should be more grateful to me. There was a reason Bob was so insistent on me staying home. He wanted to feel like he was providing for the family. However, his ability to be the breadwinner was questionable at best, and he didn't even seem to understand that. Of course, I am grateful. No, you look down on me, don't you? Why would you think that? We can live because of your earnings. See? You do get it. Just be more careful from now on. What I said to Bob wasn't a lie, but dealing with his petty pride was exhausting for me. Honestly, such things seemed so trivial. I started to think that maybe Bob's work troubles were because of his attitude. And then, another problem surfaced. I heard from Bob that you've been getting a bit too confident lately. Excuse me? I was invited over by my in-laws, and the moment I stepped inside, I was confronted with this. If Bob hadn't said anything, it wouldn't have come to this. Moreover, they've always doted on their only son, Bob. So, whatever Bob did, they approved. Who do you think is earning for you? You should be more grateful. Seriously. I responded half-heartedly, finding the situation bothersome. That only added fuel to the fire with my in-laws. What kind of response is that? Are you looking down on us? Honey, say something. Well, a wife should always listen to her husband, right? Why don't you teach her, dear? That's a good idea. This was getting beyond tedious. Being involved with these two could throw one's life into chaos. I had thought they were kind people before the marriage, but I guess they just needed a trigger. Thanks to Bob tattling on me, it triggered them. I apologize, but I have plans after this, so I'll be heading out. I wanted to get out of there as fast as I could. Oh, come on. You've got plenty of time, right? You're just a homemaker after all. My in-laws gave me a nasty smile. No, I really don't have time today, so excuse me. With that, I made a hasty exit from their house. All the way home, my heart was racing. I had never felt this kind of emotion, almost like fear, before. But it wasn't over. Welcome back. Upon returning home, Bob was waiting at the door. Why are you waiting out here? You went to my parents' house, didn't you? Yeah, but I just got a call from my mom. She said you left in a hurry. I realized I had messed up. I had completely forgotten that Bob might contact my in-laws. It's not like I ran away. Then what's it about? I just had a place to go, that's all. I felt my excuse was a bit weak, but it seemed Bob didn't press the matter further. I sighed in relief, looking up at the ceiling. After that, Bob's domineering attitude lessened, and I enjoyed a momentary peace. I feel like I have a fever, so I'm gonna take the day off again. How high is it? Maybe 100.4 degrees Fahrenheit? All right, I'll get you some medicine. Thanks. He had been regularly going to work recently, but I was concerned that he was taking time off again. I finished my chores for the day and went to check on Bob, who was supposedly resting. When I reached out to empty the trash, I noticed something. There were discarded pills. He was pretending to take them and then throwing them away. I instinctively felt Bob was faking his illness. And then I remembered something. In times like this, he often said he was going for a walk and would leave the house. That's when I decided to set a trap for Bob. I'm going to run some errands and might be back a bit late. Okay. His reply didn't sound like someone who's sick. There was a noticeable energy in his voice. I pretended to leave, but waited in a spot where I could see the front door. Sure enough, about 15 minutes later, I saw Bob leaving the house. Where's he off to? I discreetly followed him and saw him enter a casino nearby. I quickly took out my phone and snapped a photo. It became clear to me that his frequent outings were all because of this. It's no wonder that the money he hands over every month for our expenses has been decreasing. And then, on a certain Saturday, Bob made a shocking statement. This became the catalyst for the upcoming incident. We're gonna build a house for 2 families. Wait, what? Where's the money for that? Huh? Obviously, it's gonna come from your savings. I was left speechless, being suddenly told about moving in with my in-laws. The reason he'd been increasingly disrespectful to me lately became clear. Bob continued, sensing my shock. I'm the head of this household. So, whatever I decide, you gotta follow. Is that so? What on earth is he talking about? The fact that he'd say such things as if they were totally normal, he's not impressive or anything of the sort. If you're not on board with it, we can just get a divorce. Fine. Let's divorce. I couldn't stand being manipulated by Bob any longer. And I wouldn't let him off the hook with just a divorce. Bob needs to be punished. Oh, and by the way, my parents are coming over soon. What? Right now? They'll be staying here until the house is built. Make sure you treat them well. With that, Bob hastily began preparing to leave. I couldn't believe how selfish he was being to leave at a time like this, but I saw it as a golden opportunity. I wanted to leave right away, but I thought it'd be satisfying to tell my in-laws about the divorce in person. I'll handle it. I saw off my husband leaving home and couldn't help but laugh. As I eagerly awaited the arrival of my in-laws, they were like, "Oh? Where's Bob? He left a bit ago. He told me to look after you too. Could you help me with the bags?" "Sure." In the end, I found myself hauling each and every bag into the room, just as directed. While carrying the bags, a question pops into my mind. Why did we decide to live in this house before building a multi-generational home? My in-laws' house is much bigger, and they've been living there for years, so there really wasn't any need for us to move in together. How much time are you gonna take? Honestly, thinking about our future living together, this isn't a great start. Once I finished tidying up and thought of taking a short break, my in-laws didn't allow me even that. Fetch this, buy that, they treated me like some sort of housemaid. I decided it was about time and broke the news to my in-laws. Bob asked me for a divorce earlier, so I'm getting divorced. What? Catherine, what are you saying out of the blue? That's right. You are here to work for us. I've already made up my mind. I quickly packed my things and prepared to leave. My in-laws' faces were obviously shocked. If you do that, you don't know what will happen. Oh, Bob won't keep quiet either. I was the one told by Bob himself that if I didn't like it, we should get divorced. There's nothing wrong with it. How dare you, being just the wife? The resentment from my in-laws was palpable, but I wasn't scared or anything. By the way, thinking Bob can support both of you, I don't think it's feasible. What do you mean by that? Why don't you ask him directly? They seemed to be screaming about something afterward, but I ignored them and left. I thought of returning home, but given the distance, I decided to check into a nearby hotel. Then, I made a call. Sorry to disturb your day off. I have something to discuss. Hey, long time no see. What's up? It's about Bob. I told the boss everything about his actions up to now. I see. So that's what it was about. Did you notice anything unusual? Well, I've had my suspicions about him for a while now. According to the boss, Bob had been on the company's radar. Well, with the way he's been behaving, it's no surprise. Also, I have photos of Bob lying and going to the casino. I'll send them to you later. That would help. But are you sure about this? Yes. I'm planning on divorcing Bob. I can't take it any longer. I see. With all he's done, he probably won't last long at this company anyway. I left everything in the hands of the boss and enjoyed some time to myself. During this time, my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from Bob, so I turned it off. It was Saturday, he was gonna be in for a surprise when he'd work on Monday. I wish I could see Bob's face. Then Monday came. What did you do? I turned on my phone to find over 100 missed calls from Bob. Excitedly, I answered. So he sounded pretty panicked. Who knows? It's just comeuppance for everything you've done so far. I responded that way to Bob. Then, Bob became furious. Well, I saw this coming. I got told I'm fired when I went to the company. It must be something you did. I let out a deep sigh. Even if I hadn't intervened, he probably would have been fired at some point. I just expedited the process. So, the company knew about everything you've been up to, didn't they? That's not possible. I made sure it was hidden well. Bob seemed really flustered. Well, whatever happens to you is none of my business. Huh? You think I'm gonna be the one in trouble if you get fired? Bob seems to have forgotten what he said. My in-laws must have told him. Why would I be bothered? We're getting a divorce, after all. Bob went silent, seemingly stunned. Did he actually think I wouldn't go through with the divorce? If so, he's truly a clueless man. I'm utterly dumbfounded. You're serious about that? Of course. Who'd want to be with someone who jokes about such a thing? It was just a slip of the tongue. And why would anyone want to live with your parents who are drowning in debt? What are you talking about? Apparently, my in-laws hadn't told him. I used my weekend to gather information about my in-laws. I just had to know the real reason they wanted to live with us. Fortunately, my in-laws' house was just a 15-minute train ride away, so I decided to pay them a visit. The reason my in-laws agreed to move in with us in the first place was that they no longer had a home to live in. I did my homework, Bob. Even talked to the neighbors. Who'd have thought that gambling would lead them to lose their house? They're both losers. It's crazy, but both of my in-laws had gambling addictions. They poured money into things like casino and racked up debts, even using their house as collateral. They had to sell it in the end. Them coming to our place was just a temporary solution until their new house was built. You. What about you? Faking illness to go gambling? You knew about that? Well, even if you hid it, it doesn't matter now. I've got pictures, just so you know. You're meddling too much. Where are you now? You think I'm gonna tell you? Bob seemed too emotional, almost irrational. I thought this would be a good time to speak my mind. Spit it out already! Instead of that, why not tell your parents the truth? What truth are you talking about? About your salary. What if they knew you're only making $3,500? Basically admitting you're incompetent. I must admit, I'm proud of myself for holding up this long. And to top it off, Bob was using that money he earned on gambling. You both have secrets, don't you? Maybe it's best to get it all out now. Shut up! I was gonna tell them eventually. You don't have to lie, you know. I chuckled, mocking Bob. Looks like the tables have turned. He's probably getting what he deserves for always looking down on me. After all you've done, you think it won't come back to bite you? Remember, you're just a homemaker. The one who's gonna suffer is you. I don't know about that. To me, it just sounds like the whining of a sore loser. How did it come to this? Who knows? I'm tired. Later. With that, I hung up. And then headed out to meet a lawyer who assists divorce. Divorcing him was only part of my revenge. Bob and his kind are gonna suffer even more from here on out. Later, I got a divorce. As expected, I received a call from Bob. I have debts to pay. What am I supposed to do? Seems like after losing his job, he made the dumb decision to live off of loans. His parents are struggling with debt, and he can't even see that? What a pitiful man. That sounds tough. But you gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps. I'm cheering for you. Don't you feel even a bit of responsibility to help your ex-husband? Why would I? We're strangers now. You. If I'd stayed humble, you'd take advantage, wouldn't you? Trying to intimidate me now doesn't make any sense, you know? I said, laughing, before hanging up. Afterwards, it seems Bob decided to cut ties with his parents. Moreover, his parents weren't aware of Bob's salary situation. Apparently, they had a falling out over it and decided to part ways. Well, either way, a bright future for them doesn't seem likely. On my end. You've had it tough recently, huh? No, thank you for all your help during that time. Well, I wanted to ask, would you consider coming back to work with us? We're short-staffed right now. I'd be really grateful, are you sure? Of course. It'd help us out too. And so, I found a job, and my new life is going smoothly. My savings, which my ex-husband was after, are safe. From now on, I want to spend both my money and time for myself.